I'm sorry, I keep hearing something. We good? Keep moving. We good?
Yeah, we good. We good to go.
Okay.
To make sure to
okay. So before we get into it, I just want y'all to drop real quick. I want y'all to drop one thing you're grateful for in the chat. One thing you're grateful for in the chat. I want to see all that we've been through, this whole week. And today it's Friday. Thank God it's Friday. I want to see one thing that you're grateful for in the chat. As those things are coming through, if you can't recall something real quick, just remember you woke up today and somebody else did not. So I want to, let me see those things coming through. Let me see them coming through. I see. So much to be grateful for. So many things to be grateful for. So this afternoon, y'all, we're going to get into the power of emotional wellness. I can't really see what's happening in the chat, but I know that there's things coming through because I see the numbers increasing. So thank you for your gratitude. Thank you for sharing this space with me on today. And so as we get into the power of emotional wellness, we're talking about winning from within. Many of us have grown up in situations and circumstances where we had to learn street smarts. We had to learn how to cook for ourselves and do things, clean the house, go to church, all the things, but we really didn't grow up with a level of emotional intelligence. And if we're honest, because we didn't have a level of emotional intelligence, we have not also been able to teach our children the importance of being well emotionally. And so today we're going to get into the power of emotional wellness, winning from within. So before we get into it, I like to explain who I am. Most of y'all really, don't know me for real. So let me explain who I am. I say, who is she? My name is Jabrita Shelton, better known as the modern day Harriet Tubman. Many of you might think, wow, that's a really big, bold statement, but it is. I have been called to help heal trauma, from intergenerational trauma from families, probably since I can remember. I remember being in school and most people would come to me and confide in me and talk to me about things that I really didn't understand. And I didn't understand then that it was a call on my life, and that many years later, I would answer the call that was already predestined for me to walk in. And so if you think about the modern day Harriet Tubman, you think about the history of Harriet Tubman and who she is and who she was and what she provided. In order for her to free the people, she also had to understand what it was like to be free. So you're looking at a woman who was a survivor of many things. You're looking at a woman who have come through and overcome and now have gone from one portion of pain to healing and now being able to help other people heal in the same areas where I was once wounded. So I am a mother. I have 3 children to be exact, 1 adult child and 2 teenagers. I am a published author, a speaker, an educator, a facilitator, spiritual midwife, and a doula. I have 14 years in the mental health, social and human services field as a trauma professional, as a mindful healer, and a family practitioner. I'm extremely passionate about healing. I'm extremely passionate about healing simply because I know and understand that we can never raise or succeed to the level above which we are willing to heal. So it's truly important for us to get the fundamentals of the foundation of what we need to break our own ground so that now we can go and build a firm foundation. Because as mothers or fathers, and I don't know if we have mothers, and we got mothers on the chat, fathers on the chat, drop a 1 in the chat tonight. If you're a mother or father, drop a 1 in the chat. I know if you're like me as a mother or a father, if you're anything like me, you don't want to leave your children starting where you had to start from. So as a result of that, one of the things that I do is to help families heal intergenerational trauma. So disrupting patterns, behaviors, mindsets, and cycles while uncovering the secrets that further damage the future of our youth. I help men and women understand how to build strong family systems for ultimate success in life and living through creating healing-centered practices and educating families, educating individuals, educating churches, universities. I've spoken at multiple places as it relates to generational trauma. All right. So now that y'all know a little bit about me, I want to read a disclaimer to you all. I want you to know that this is a safe space for healing. The main objective is healing. However, you are our first priority. The contents of this course are not intended to diagnose, to medicate, or to prove medical advice or assumptions. This information is intended to be for educational purposes only. It is not intended for punishment, with no intent to harm, and it is not accusatory. If for whatever reason you become triggered by what I'm saying, you have my permission to cut your camera off, take a break, and come back as your capacity allows. I want to be very clear. This is a judgment-free zone. If you get a tear, if you hear something that resonates with you and you need to sit in it, sit with it, allow for yourself to feel what you need to feel, because that's the only way we heal, is when we have the courage to face that which we continuously try to avoid. Okay? So you have my permission to cut your camera off, take a break if need be, and then come back when your capacity allows. So let's get into the fundamentals of emotional wellness. Drop a 1 in the chat if you know anything about emotional wellness. Any reason, for whatever reason, if you've grown up as a child and you experienced emotional abuse in any way, shape, form, or fashion, whether it was verbal, whether it was, the lack of attention, the lack of care, the lack of nurturing, I want you to drop those 1s in the chat. Why is this important? Why is it important for us to have, to be emotionally well? 1, because as children, when we grow up broken as children, young broken children only grow up to be adult broken men and broken little girls. And so it's so important for us to, 1, understand where our brokenness lie, be able to identify what that brokenness is, and then give voice to the brokenness which we have found. So the fundamentals of emotional wellness. We're going to go over, actually, if you see 4 here, I actually added a few more because I wanted to go a little bit deeper. So we're going to talk about understanding emotions. What are emotions? Then we're going to talk about the purpose of emotions. Why does emotions exist? Core emotional connections. What are the emotional connections between the head, the heart, and the gut? And then we're going to talk about emotional management, which is reprogramming and reprocessing of a negative emotion towards a positive emotion. Okay, now I see the chat, it's paused, and possibly because y'all taking it in. But if something resonates with you, I want you to drop a heart, drop a strong arm, or drop a fire emoji in the chat. If you need to cry and you feel sensitive enough to allow yourself to be vulnerable with us tonight, drop a tear emoji. I'm good with that. I just want to censor the room and kind of see where you all are with me tonight, okay? Now I'm going to take my time. I'm not going to rush through this. And the reason why I'm going to take my time is because it's a very sensitive space and a very sensitive place for us to be, especially within the climate of this world and what we've experienced over the last 3 years. And if we're completely honest, many of us are still recovering from the trauma of the pandemic, the emotional trauma that we all experienced from the pandemic. So my objective tonight is to take you deeper into the science of emotions and then to bring you home to self-identify so that you can be able to have a better understanding of where you are, but also have a mind map of where you want to be as it relates to your emotional wellness. So the next 4 things we're going to talk about is emotional, and I have my notes here, so I'm looking at 2 screens, y'all. just to let you know. So the next thing we're going to talk about is the next 4, which is emotional awareness. Emotional awareness is knowing when feelings are present in ourselves and in others. It's knowing when emotions are aware of in ourselves and in others. Emotional stability is the ability to stay grounded emotionally through one's own personal perception, judgment, thinking, and reasoning. How many of you, of all of the 6 that I have identified, if you can drop a 2 in the chat, if you are emotionally aware of yourself, of your own feelings and your own emotions? I see them coming through. I see them coming through. Excellent. How many of you feel as if you are emotionally stable? Drop a 3 in the chat if you feel you're emotionally stable. Now I'm gonna pause here for a second because many of us think that we are emotionally stable until something comes to tap at that area that we're still wounded. And when that happens, that stability that we once thought we had goes out the window. Drop a fire emoji if you hear what I'm saying tonight. Now, emotional regulation is the ability to respond to an ongoing and not so favorable range of emotions in such a way that it allows for you to be socially flexible and grounded within your spontaneous response. So emotional regulation looks like sometimes being startled. It could be somebody catching you off guard. You're having a bad day. You know, you got a lot on your mind. You already feel stressed and overwhelmed. And as a result of that, somebody does something. Let's talk about it. Traffic. They cut you off. You got something on your mind. You're trying to get somewhere. And immediately, boom, a trigger happens. And guess what? You're off centered. Now your day, your hour, you know, it's thrown off simply because you did not have the ability to be emotionally regulated. And so overall, what we're trying to do tonight is bring us all to a level of emotional intelligence. And what is emotional intelligence? Emotional intelligence is the ability to be aware or to be in control of and to express your own interpersonal likes and dislikes through communication, but also with empathy. And if we're being honest, many of us, we've gotten to a place where we're so self-centered, where we're so self-seeking, that sometimes we can't even feel what the other person is feeling because we're so absorbed in what we're dealing with ourselves. But if we're going to get to emotional wellness, if we're going to understand the intricate details of how this works with our well-being and our success, we have to start with a level of awareness. So we're going to talk a little bit about understanding emotions. When we think about emotions, we think, you know, just what I feel, just what I'm dealing with, what I'm going through. It's all about me. But our emotions are not just about us as individuals. It's also the energy that we are emitting to other people and other things around us in our environments. And so it's very important to be in tune with yourself, because the more observed you are within yourself and your reasoning and your understanding of your emotions, the better it is to connect with other people and the sensitivities of their emotions as well. So let's talk about understanding emotions. Let's talk about understanding emotions. Hold on, I'm sorry. Yep, let's talk about. Here we go. Here we go. All right. So let's talk about understanding emotions. Emotions are mental states brought on by neurological changes that are compromised as thoughts, as feelings, as behavioral responses, and a degree of pleasure or displeasure that are usually accompanied by psychological and behavioral changes in the body. So let's pause there for a second. If we're being honest, if we're being transparent, we're here to help and to heal, right? So I'm going to help you and heal you on tonight. Many of us have the IQ, emotional IQ of a 4-year-old. And when I say that, I say because we only know like the 4 basic emotions: anger, happy, fear, joy. But we're going to get into an exercise where you all are going to be able to understand that there are over 30,000 emotions, over 27 that I can name tonight, and over 70 that none of us have really truly tapped into. It is a complete observation of self, but allowing yourself to be free in the exploration of what you actually feel. And many of us did not grow up in safe environments or the safest of environments that gave us the ability to explore those feelings, to explore, what we're feeling, why we're feeling what we're feeling, and also to question, why is this here? So because we have not had the opportunity to explore that as children, many of us grow up with those same 4 emotions that are looped through everything we do. Now, emotions are given meaning through our experiences, our situations, and our circumstances. And I'm going to say that again. Emotions are given meaning through our experiences, our situations, and our circumstances. Why are they given meaning through our experiences, our situations, and our circumstances? Simply because as a child, the way that we learn to communicate is through our expression. It's through our shared expression, not only what we are sharing, but also what's being shared back to us. So it's almost like a mirror effect, right? From our parents, our grandparents, our community, our tribe, and the environment of safety that's created for us to explore those expressions. They are both subjective and objective, and usually reflect the personal significance of a particular thing. Emotions give us the information about what we are, what we're going through at the time, and how we will respond in that experience. Our emotions are shaped by the impact of behavior, our culture, our conditions, and our personal mental well-being. How many of you know, drop a fire in the chat if you know that when you are not mentally well, you do not have the capacity to be emotionally well. When you are not mentally well, you do not have the capacity to be emotionally well. I don't see no fires coming through the chat. When you are mentally not well, you do not have the capacity to be emotionally well. So our emotions and our behaviors are used to pursue or avoid emotional outcomes. Why is this? If we said that this, whether we like it or whether we don't like it, it's accompanied by a psychological, a mental breakdown, or some form of behavioral body chemistry change. When we get angry, we go from being happy in one moment to being extremely angry or extremely enraged or happy to sad. We go from a range of emotions. We go from highs to lows, from lows to highs. It's interchanging. It's always constantly interchanging. And most of those things are interchanging simply because of our experiences, of our projected outcomes, and the feedback to which we truly desire from those which we are interjecting to. Now, let's go a little bit deeper. If we're talking about, because I know a few things came through the chat when we talked about as a child, we know we weren't nurtured. We weren't nurtured. We wasn't given a safe space to have an emotional, to have an emotional response. Many of you, if you like me, I grew up where my mom said, you know, you can talk to me about anything. And then you try it, but you get punished or you get scorned for, you know, talking about anything. And from that experience, you learn that it's not safe to talk about anything. So you didn't really mean anything, right? You didn't really mean anything. You truly meant you can talk to me about the things that's comfortable for me to talk to you about. Let's talk about it. Drop some fires in the chat if you know what I'm talking about on tonight. Many of us grew up where we heard things, but when we actually acted out the thing that we heard, it was contradictory and there was a consequence associated with that action. And so that consequence taught us how to respond, how to show up in the world, how to show up with ourselves, how to show up in conversations, how to show up in relationships, what was acceptable, what was not acceptable. And many of us are even now still practicing some of those same behaviors that scarred us with our own families, with our own children, with our own parents, in our relationships with our spouses. So the importance of emotional wellness goes beyond just what you feel. The importance of emotional wellness goes beyond just trying to succeed, because the truth is that the very energy that you're using, that you want to use to attract the thing, could be the very energy that you use to repel the same thing that you're trying to attract. And so it's extremely important that we understand to a level of intelligence when it comes to how our emotions affect everything we do. And so traumatic experiences impact emotions at the moment and long-term periods over time. Let's use this for an example. If someone was to get into a car accident, depending on the severity of that car accident, when they get in the car again, they're either going to have some form of flashback, some form of fear, or some form of resistance to drive again, simply because of the impact of that traumatic event. And so what I am saying to you tonight is that wherever you have been scarred, wherever you have been wounded, whatever experience that was for you created a lasting effect. And to be honest, it's an area of your life where you're still being affected by it in the same way, consciously and subconsciously. So when we talk about traumatic experiences impacting our emotions, regardless of the source of trauma extenuates from, trauma leaves an imprint on the brain. And we're going to get into that a little bit as well. The traumatic experiences imprint and impact us emotionally, causing increased fear, flashbacks that we just talked about, sometimes PTSD, anxiety, depression, anger, feelings of guilt, sadness, feelings of isolation, depression, shame, and also causes us to further go deep into addictions. So we're going to talk a little bit about the emotion wheel. And here's where you guys are going to be able to really get into the understanding the 27 of the 30,000 of the 70 emotions outside of the 4 that we talked about on tonight. So this is an emotional wheel. Okay, this is an emotion wheel. If you see on the right side of the wheel, depending on, which, for me, it's the right. On the right side, we talk about comfortable emotions. And those are in the all of the pretty bright, colors, like happy and loved and confident and playful and all of the things, right? But then on the left side, we have the uncomfortable emotions. And if we're honest, many of us, if you're anything like me that grew up, in poverty, grew up, poverty stricken, grew up in a broken home, came from a broken family, grew up with a father addicted to drugs, alcohol. If you're anything like me, most of my life, I wanted to be in the happy sector, but I struggled being sad, being embarrassed, being angry, being scared. Yes, I was loved, but the counterpart of being loved is also feeling powerless when you're in those circumstances. So there's always a counter to everything that we feel, which is also the reason why we can interchange the highs and the lows and the highs consistently as we're interweaving how we feel emotionally. So for a moment, I want you to take a picture, even if you will, of the screen. And I want you to really, really, really sit with yourself and think about, where am I today? How do I actually feel after this week? I've been going, I've been moving, I've been up against this. I've had this to do. I've had that to do. I've had this responsibility, that responsibility. But have you checked in with yourself? Have you checked in with yourself to see, where am I emotionally? What's coming up for me? What happens when I'm overwhelmed and I feel stressed and everybody's pulling on me and I don't feel that I have anything left to give? Where can I go? Do I go to the comfortable emotions because that's what everybody expects of me? Or can I be honest and talk about the uncomfortable things that I'm feeling on today? Once you get that, I would ask that you would drop in the chat your word or your words that reflects exactly how you feel in this moment. In this moment, exactly how you feel. I see y'all. I see him coming through. We're gonna pause here because I just want to, good. I see some good things coming through. I see some things coming through. Keep them coming, y'all. Keep them coming. Keep them coming. Thank you. Thank you for being honest. Thank you for being vulnerable. Thank you for taking courage to share just how you feel with us on tonight. This is groundbreaking because this is where healing begins. It is when we understand exactly what we're dealing with, when we can identify it, when we can acknowledge it, when no shame exists, and healing can go forth because of your bravery, because of your courage, because of your ability to assess, reassess, and also say, hey, it's me. I'm not doing so good. I need some help. I need rescue. And sometimes it's learning how to be our own rescue. And we're going to get into that as well. Thank you so much for sharing that with us. So now we're going to talk about the purpose of emotions, the purpose of emotions. And so as we think about everything, you have to understand that everything has a function. Everything has a function. And because everything has a function, you need to know that when it is operating outside of its original intent, it is actually called abuse. Anything that is used outside of its original context is called abuse. Yeah, sit with that for a moment. And I say sit with that for a moment because many of us don't even take the time to feel what we actually feel, to censor what needs to be censored, and give ourselves permission to let happen what needs to happen naturally that we've been suppressing and pushing down over the years. Because if we're honest, many of us are afraid to feel the pain of the existence of what broke us. But we're going to help you get healed on tonight. So let's talk about it. The purpose of emotions, the purpose of emotions. Now, when I keep pausing, y'all, it's because I'm trying to gather my notes. Okay. The purpose of emotions. There are three primary functions of purpose as it relates to emotions. One is to communicate and to influence others. One is to communicate and to influence others. And even if we had to just stop right there, many of us did not grow up in a household where communication was normal. And when I say communication wasn't normal, I simply mean that most of us were yelled at, screamed at, talked at, and not talked to. Most of us were dictated to, told what to do, what not to do, how far we could go, how much we could run, walk in the house, all of these demands. But there was no space created to actually learn what healthy communication looks like. Right? Yep, absolutely. I see it coming through. And so, you know, and I don't know who's all on the call tonight, but I'm just gonna say it because I can only speak to my own personal experience as a Black woman in a Black family with dysfunction and all of the things. I was talked to a lot. I was talked at a lot, especially in frustration, especially in anger, when bills weren't met, needs weren't met, bills were due. We didn't have enough, financial disparities. And so stress upon stress upon stress, and dealing with a parent who had mental illness and had no idea what depression was. So I know what it's like to grow up in a household where communication is supposed to be the norm, but then you get out in the world and you realize, wow, other people just don't talk this way. Right? How many can identify? So one of the reasons or one of the purposes of emotions is to communicate, and with that communication, be able to influence others to do the same. To be able to influence others to do the same. Next thing is to organize and to motivate actions. To organize and to motivate actions. And then lastly, it is for self-validation. It is for you to be aware and to identify within yourself what's happening. It is for you to give voice to that which you feel before somebody takes your voice away. Before someone strips your power away by silencing that which you actually feel. And so tonight, I want you to understand that this process and this practice that we're doing tonight is for you to give space to yourself, to give validation to yourself, to give permission to yourself, to take the time and assess where you are, what you're feeling. And it's okay to be angry. It's okay to come to a place of realization, to know that, wow, my voice was silenced. Wow, I really couldn't share. Wow, I really wasn't safe. It's okay to come to those realizations, those truths, those revelations for yourself, because that's where healing actually begins. And then I want you to know that emotions help us to coordinate interpersonal relationships. So how we show up with ourselves, the conversations we have with ourselves, how we treat ourselves when nobody's around. When we look in the mirror, do we really like what we see? All of that is an interpersonal relationship that we've cultivated with ourselves. And I grew up where I was told, you do unto others as you have them do unto you, right? But what I did not understand was that doing better for someone else than I was doing for myself also put me at a deficit. It took me almost 15 years to understand what self-preservation actually meant. That it wasn't about me being selfish, but it's about me understanding how to preserve myself. I see some stuff coming through, so I'm just keeping in with what's going on. So how can I be better to you than I have learned how to be to myself? That's where we have a problem. That's where things begin to get in what I would consider a funk or a cloud. Because projectively, you can't do anything more to me than I allow you to do to me. But at some point, I have to take responsibility for participating. Now, I'm not talking to the child. I'm not talking to the child who was defenseless, who didn't have a voice, who was silenced. I'm talking to the adult that's still responding like the child simply because they haven't healed that interpersonal wound. So now we're going to talk about a little bit of the science. We're going to get a little bit more deeper into the science of core connecting emotions. We're going to talk about 3 systems that we've been with, live with, sleep with, wake up to every day. These three core connecting emotions are centered in 3 specific, very specific aspects of our everyday life. Here we go. Number 1, gut health. Gut health. The significance of the gut is its connection to the brain. The gut or the stomach directly impacts the brain's function in every single way. What we think, what we feel, how we reason, how we perceive and exchange information is a direct connection to our gut health and the hormonal balance or imbalance thereof. What we consume, how much we consume, and our daily activity has huge barriers to our emotional well-being. And I know some of y'all are probably like, okay, what's she talking about for real? What is she talking about? You know, growing up, we heard you are what you eat, right? I drop a hand emoji, raise your hand in the chat if you know what I'm talking about. You are what you eat. And so I guess I would consider myself a potato because I'm a French fry girl and I always love eating potatoes. I don't care how you make them. You can fry them, cut them, slice them, dice them. I'm going to eat them. You hear me? So, but over time, what I realized was that starch That starch creates, it sets up, and that starch creates inflammation over time. So what we do in our stomach is translated, we're going to get to the next one, to our brain, which also sends signals to our heart. So the 3 laws of emotion that I like to think of as the gut, the brain, and the heart. So the gut is our self-worth. Our self-worth is equal to the total sum of our emotions over time. That's our gut. Our gut is where we house, or where we store, most of our emotions, which is why when you get upset, your stomach gets sick. When you're nervous, your stomach gets sick. When you are tired, sometimes your stomach gets sick. All of these emotions are centered. And again, remember in the beginning, we talked about a psychological, right? A psychological and also a behavioral or chemical exchange in the body. So this is what we're talking about when we talk about in our gut, and the connection between our gut, our brain, and our hearts. So let's talk about brain health. There is a great significance of the brain in its connection to the heart. And if you just walk with me through this process, I'm going to show you exactly what I mean by this. The brain needs the heart in order to function. The brain needs, understand, I said need. The brain needs the heart in order to function and cannot function on its own. The brain is where we house our thoughts, our ideas, our imaginations, our dreams, our memory. It is where we store memory, good, bad, or indifferent. And our thoughts shape our perspective, confidence, and our core belief systems. Now, you're probably thinking, well, what does the brain health have anything to do with gut health? Your brain is your identity. Your identity will stay your identity until a new experience acts against your will. So the connection between the stomach, what we feel, and our brains, what we think. Our stomach, what we feel, sends signals to our brain, what we think, which transcends every emotion to our heart. And we're going to get into our heart in a little bit. And so that is the connection, the emotional connection between gut, brain, and heart. But one thing I want you to know about the heart is this. The significance of the heart is that it is the only organ that functions independently above all other organs in our body. It is the single most solitary, selfish organ that God designed in our anatomy. It is the only thing that controls everything, yet stands independently and alone. That's interesting to me. If you're anything like me, you're probably scratching your head, because when I studied it and I was thinking about it, I was like, that's interesting. And why is this so interesting? Why? Because if the heart stops, so does everything else. Yet the brain cannot function without the heart, but the heart can function independently of the brain. Meaning, everything that I consume, everything that I think, transmutes down back to my heart. So that same thing, that same cycle continues to process. The heart is a chamber. It sends signals to and from, right? And so as a result of that, for every action, there is an equal, greater, or an opposite emotional reaction. I see some things coming through. So for every action, there is an equal or a greater reaction as it relates to our heart health, our brain health, and our gut health, the three connecting core pieces of our emotional well-being. So when we talk about gut health, it's not just about what we consume, right? Physically. We're not just talking about drinking alcohol, doing drugs, eating food. We're also talking about your appetite. What is your appetite? What do you actually desire out of life? Are you hungry to succeed? Are you hungry to heal? Are you hungry? Or, does it not matter as much? So when you think about my appetite, my gut health, what I consume is what I'm thinking, is what I'm feeling, is what I'm censoring in, what I allow in, and also what I'm able to release and let go. Now let's talk about emotional management. And we're almost done here, y'all. Let's talk about emotional management. What is emotional management? And why is it important? Emotional management is what we feel, why you feel it, and what you do with what you feel is emotional management. It's appropriating knowledge between knowing the difference in your feelings, in your emotions, in your thoughts, your responses, the impact of that, the consequences of those things, and the ability to both self-check and self-soothe. Drop a heart in the chat if you know how to self-soothe. I just want to pause right there. Drop a heart in the chat if you know how to self-soothe. Good, I see them coming through. That's so vitally important to your emotional well-being. That's so important to your emotional well-being. Good, 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 good. I see them coming through. Emotional management, your ability to self-check and self-soothe will determine the outcome of each experience you encounter as you move forward from this place. And what do I mean by that? I mean, this is what I simply mean. If you have the ability to be aware, to self-check, to know, okay, to how to identify and acknowledge what you're feeling, why you're feeling what you're feeling, and then be able to have a tool, a practical tool or a switch to turn on to help you soothe over that feeling or the emotion, you're in a very powerful place to be. You're in a very powerful place to be. And yes, you're right. It's so important for growth. Now, I want to talk a little about emotions as an energy field. And I have a few descriptives here that I just want you to kind of just look at. And I have 3 different slides. But if you can see energetically, if we were to always be in happiness, how much more could we actually get and be fulfilled? How much more will we actually be able to do in less time if we weren't consumed with the junk of those uncomfortable emotions, right? So you think about happiness throughout the entire body, it's truly radiating. But if you look down the line and you see how that darkness seeps in through anger and fear and disgust, and then we get into the blue energy field, which is sadness. But I want you to pay attention to how it illuminates in the different aspects and different parts of the body. So this right here comes with you being aware, and we'll get into it more as we get into our courses, learning more about our trauma triggers, responses, and how we show up in our fight, flight, and fawn. However, I want you to be aware that these different areas of our bodies that these emotions are emitting from becomes heavy. Disease sets in. You become to get sick. Inflammation sits in the body. There's so many different things that happens as a result of these emotions showing up in our energy field, in our body. Surprise, anxiety, love. And I want you to pay attention to anxiety. Let's talk about anxiety. Most people who have anxiety, when they have an anxiety attack, usually starts from the chest. Look at this energy force field. Pay very close attention to where it's centered, right in the center of the chest. This blew my mind when I studied this and when I looked at it, because I was like, wow, I never understood just how powerful we are in terms of our energy, our ability to receive energy and also to transmit energy. So if you think about that energy, when you are in this space, think about the people that are being affected by that same energy around you. And if their energy force field is not stronger, brighter, greater, they're consuming all of that toxic energy until now their energy force field. So it's very important for us to be aware of our emotions and how we're showing up in different spaces, but also the ability to communicate what that looks like when we get in those spaces. It's also very important to be honest with yourself. Be honest with yourself. From this teaching tonight, I hope that you all can take something back that you can have a conversation with, or even to educate those around you to understand the power of emotional well-being and the importance of your emotional field being filtered, clean, not holding on, suppressing emotions, suppressing those things that's uncomfortable because we've been silenced so long in our lives. So now we're going to talk a little bit about emotional self-care. Because I had to break it down so we can build it back up. So we're going to talk about emotional self-check. First of all, emotional self-care is knowing what your capacity is and knowing when you need to say no, when you need to set boundaries, when you need to say, you know what, I don't think I'm going to go out tonight. It's learning yourself in a way that you're not bothered by anybody else's emotional capacity to bring you along, but you're more concerned about how you're going to show up if you go along against your own will. So let's talk about an emotional self-check. We start an emotional self-check with these four core principles. So begin with the body scan. As you can see in the last slide, we looked at the energy force field that we have as within our emotions. So if you were to walk in a room and the minute you walked in a room, you get a headache, what would you think? What would you consider? Would you think, oh, maybe I didn't have a headache before I got here? Or would you just think, oh, I got a headache, let me take a Tylenol? Drop it in the chat. I want to hear it. I want to know it. I want to know what you're going to do. If you walk in a room and you know that headache wasn't there before you got there, but something in your body is telling you something is wrong. Something in your body is sharing with you that this doesn't feel comfortable. This doesn't feel right. Most of you all said, I see that. I love it. I love it. I love it. Keep it coming. She said, I'm going to sit down first. I hear you. I hear you. But most of you being aware of that, knowing that, okay, now it's an interchange of a different type of energy, and being emotionally aware allows for you to understand, okay, something is off, right? So begin with the body scan. Check in with what you feel physically in your body And also observe your breathing. Observe your breathing. Is your breathing deep? Is it shallow? You need to know how you're showing up in these spaces, because it's very important that if you can identify what's happening in you, you may be able to avoid it by having those self-soothing tools in your toolkit. You also may be able to avoid, certain things or certain interactions by simply excusing yourself before it even comes up. I see it. I see you. I see you, Stephanie. So the next thing is you want to examine what you're feeling. Allow yourself to investigate everything you feel in detail. Now, I understand that every situation and circumstance that we walk into, go into, we may not always have the time in that moment to assess ourselves deeply in detail. But that doesn't mean you don't have homework when you go home. It is so vitally important to be in tune with yourself, to be present with yourself at all times, whether it is a negative feeling, a negative emotion, or a positive emotion. You need to know why it's there. So this is the evaluating, thinking in depth about why you feel what you feel, giving it a name, and owning what comes up. And then you need to be able to communicate. You need to be able to communicate and practice accountability. You need to communicate openly and honestly with those that will be affected by your discovery. Hold yourself accountable for your actions, your responses, your behaviors, your thoughts, and your outcomes. This is very important because many people who have experienced trauma project a lot of what they feel onto other people to avoid being honest about what they actually feel within themselves. And I know that was a mouthful, but I have to say it again. Many of us who have experienced trauma in some respect project what we actually feel onto someone else to avoid feeling it within ourselves and to avoid dealing with what we actually feel. So here's where the accountability piece comes in. You keeping yourself accountable for what you feel, how you feel, what your thoughts are, what your perceptions are. You hold yourself accountable first. Because in reality, if you are not holding yourself accountable, you don't have the ability. Let me reword that. If you're not holding yourself accountable, you should not be holding anyone else accountable for that which you're not accountable to yourself. All right, remapping and reprogramming. Remapping and reprogramming. So here we're going to talk about 4 specific things. 1, remapping negative emotions. So each internal emotions are emotions that have been laying dormant for quite some time. And if we're honest, all of us have internal emotions. All of us have a situation or circumstance or experience that we had to walk away from and keep our mouth quiet, but we was burning on the inside, ready to test something up. Whether it was our parents, whether it was our sibling, whether it was our spouse, whether it was our children, all of us have experienced internal emotions. And what happens is that when we don't give it an outward expression, we hold it in. Those internal emotions become addictions, become habits, become, eating, drugs, alcohol, gambling, all of the many things, sex even. It becomes, it internalizes and it becomes poison to our system. Then we talk about projected emotions. We just talked about that briefly. These are emotions that you feel internally, yet they are expressed. When they are expressed, they usually come out as judgment towards others. It's you judging them, but in actuality, it's really how you feel about yourself. It's you judging them, but in all actuality, it's really, you say, oh, well, I'm just trying to keep it real. But keeping it real, being 100 don't mean you got to harm somebody else in your approach. You can be honest and still be humble. You can be honest, you can speak truth, but your truth don't have to cut them down to the ground. We've experienced that pain. And for the life of me, I'm still studying and trying to understand how we as humans, how we as people experience a surmountable amount of pain and then go and project it on someone else as if we don't know how it feels. The next one is affirming emotions. Affirming emotions. This is an emotional strengthening of another person through being emotionally receptive and open to goodness of another. Affirming emotions. That's the compliments. That's when you hear people say you did an amazing job. You spoke well. You look good today. All of those complimenting, affirming emotions is somebody else recognizing something in you and being strong enough within themselves to know that them giving you something doesn't take anything away from them. And then we talk about declarative emotions. Declarative emotions are statements that focuses on internal and external strengths of an individual, isolated events, and reflective of core attributes. These usually start with I am. I am powerful. I am blessed beyond measure. I am the head and not the tail. I am above and not beneath. I am a millionaire. I am highly successful. I am a money magnet. All of those things are things that are considered declarative emotions, because when you begin to speak like that, something happens, right? Something happens within you when you begin to speak bold statements to say what I am in a positive light. Something happens. The chemistry in your body catches up with those words and something begins to take place on the inside of you. And many of us have not even gotten to the place where we can accept affirming emotions, let alone declare emotions, simply because of our own woundedness and our own brokenness that we're still wrestling and struggling with as individuals. And I believe this is actually the last slide. And I'm gonna open the floor for questions or whatever y'all want to do. Throw some fire emojis in the chat. So if we're gonna walk away, I want y'all to walk away with all the things that I've said. I'm gonna give you 6 things to let you know when your emotional bank is healthy and full. Your emotional bank is healthy and full. Healthy and full. And here we go. So the first thing is self-awareness and self-reflection. Self-awareness and self-reflection. The 6 elements of a healthy emotional bank: self-awareness, self-reflection, and this only happens in the emotional mature and the emotional competent. The emotional mature and the emotional competent. Without emotional intelligence, you do not have the capacity to self-assess. You just don't. If you're not emotionally aware of yourself, how can you be emotionally aware of others? You're emotionally aware of those triggers that other people cause, but can you identify them? If you were to have a conversation with the person that triggered you, would you be able to tell them exactly what they did that caused that chemical reaction within yourself? Without emotional intelligence, you don't have the capacity to self-assess or to be expressively self-aware. One of the greatest weapons as a human being is being self-aware. One of the most powerful tools as a human being is being self-reflective. Two separate processes, two separate things, but extremely equally powerful. Number two, effective communication. Communication is the key to success, no matter what the topic, no matter what the manner or the degree. Without effective communication, without active listening, and without understanding, you will find yourself at a disadvantage emotionally every single time. Communication is not just me saying what I said, it's also you being able to understand, have an understanding to the level to which we can both agree with what was being said. Communication is body language. It's what we hear. It's what we perceive. It's what is said. And it's also what's understood. If you don't want to be emotionally bankrupt, you have to learn how to communicate effectively. You have to learn how to be aware of your emotions, aware of how you're showing up in different spaces with different people and what's happening as a result of you showing up in those spaces. If you're triggered, simply say, I'm triggered. The worst thing that you can do is be triggered and blast off and nobody around you know why you had an episode. This is why it's important for us to have effective communication, to be aware, to be reflective. Going back to those 4 components that we talked about, the body scanning, knowing what your emotions are, knowing why they're there, knowing why you feel what you feel, when you feel what you feel. And I want you to also understand that your feelings or your emotions does not need another person's validation. A lot of us are seeking validation, seeking for other people to validate things that we know that we actually feel, especially those who have been violated, those who have been abused, those who have been misused, those who have been mistreated. They may never validate that they were wrong. They may never say to you, I apologize, but it doesn't mean it didn't happen. It doesn't mean it wasn't real. So you have to, again, within those 3 ways of powerful, of the purpose of powerful emotions, is that you have to be self-validating in what you actually feel. Because it's not about right or wrong, it's about truth. And your truth is your truth, and you have to own your truth, and it doesn't need to be validated. The only validation it needs is yours. The next one, number 3, intentional education. And I was very, very deliberate about this. Intentional education and deliberate implementation. I want y'all to give yourselves a hand because you have already proved that you're here tonight. You're here to get this intentional education so that you can be deliberate in your implementation, so that you can heal yourself and heal your future. If you heal yourself, you heal your future, you heal your funds. And guess what? Your future generation don't have to run because of the work that you're doing tonight. So be intentional with your education and deliberate in your implementation. Those are both secret ingredients for success. And in addition, they are both also cornerstones of growth. Cornerstones of growth, being intentional about your education, being deliberate about your implementation are cornerstones of growth. Then the next is accountability. We talked about that a little bit, but let's talk about it a little bit more. You can't be accountable to anybody else before you can be accountable to yourself. When we were children, our parents, or what we considered, that's how we learned accountability. We learned how far we could go. You know, you can't go past that street light. You can't go past that stop sign. Like, we learned that, but we learned it through punishment. We learned it through fear. We learned it through, getting in trouble for accessing outside of the boundaries to which our parents established for us. As adults, our parents are not or should not still be over us, holding us accountable to things that we should be holding ourselves accountable to. I say this one thing to my kids: when you're a child, your parents tell you the direction to go. When you become an adult, the direction should already be in you, right? And so if you venture from the standard that's already been set, if it's a healthy standard, if you venture from that standard, then guess what? You got to figure out how you can get back in alignment with the standard that has been set. So we have to do a better job at raising the standard for ourselves as much as we have a standard of expectation for other people. And then next is partnership. You guys are in partnership with the Hidden Wealth Society, and your partnership is going to create that intentional education and that deliberate implementation. Your partnership is going to create pockets of wealth for your future, not just from a monetary standpoint, but from a knowledgeable standpoint. You being in partnership with Hidden Wealth Society, if you're, depending on the severity of your trauma, you need to be in partnership with a therapy or partnership with a group counseling, partnership with like-minded, like-hearted, like-spirited people who are going in the same direction, seeking healing, seeking education, seeking to advance themselves, seeking to advance their lives. You need to be in partnership and collaboration with like-minded people who want the same thing. We can all want the same thing. We gonna always have a different way of getting to it, but the outcome remains the same. And then treatment. Treatment is those therapies that I just talked about. I see these shirts that people say you need prayer. You need what? Prayer and therapy, or therapy and Jesus, or whatever it is that you do. But healing is essential. And the only way we can be healed is through intentional education, deliberate implementation, all of these factors here being self-aware, self-reflective, effective communication, being accountable, getting in partnership, and then taking courage and stepping into the next level of your healing through treatment. I hope that this teaching has blessed you on tonight. I am simply done. Mr. Bay, I think I see a hand. Go ahead. Who was that there? Go ahead, Jay Sean. I hope I said that correct. I'm sorry.
Give thanks, give thanks, give thanks. It's Josh's son. But give thanks, Queen Jabrita. Okay, could you hear me? Could you hear me now? Could you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, give thanks, Queen, for your presence. This has truly been powerful. I'm going to get in and out because I know that the floodgates are already let loose with everybody that has something to say. This whole fullness is about breaking generational trauma and beginning that generational wealth from within, and courses in knowing thyself. And that is truly a fullness. And the difference between basically responding and reacting to things. But I put in the chat valued when I looked in that wheel, because what you have been given is one of those seeds for me that the Almighty of my own understanding, this is the way that my Almighty shows me that that entity loves me, for me to be in the presence, to hear this, to know that this is just a prelude just to what everyone that's a part of this society is going to be getting. Because at the end of the day, in the beginning thereof, if you only came to the society for this alone, the value, you paying $149 a month, you know how much people will pay for this? And this is a continuous educational course that you're getting, and what the people are getting now for free. And this is just a prelude. Just knowing that man to kill base, shouts out to you, King. Word life for all that the Almighty is to you and you being obedient, because I've seen the vision and been seeing the fruition. And to you, Queen, you come and providing this for the journey that the Almighty of your own understanding has brought you forth to bring forth this type of education. I just give thanks, and I'm gonna just yield my time at that. Word, what the deal? I'm gonna yield my time. Give thanks, Queen. Word.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. That really blessed me. Thank you so much.
Let's get some fires, some love. Definitely some love, some fires. I heard you, Brother Ja. I heard you, Brother Ja. I heard you loud and clear. You know, Brother Ja's working on his doctrines right now in the same field. So that's coming from somebody of your peer. That's your peer. So it's not just coming from somebody that's new to this, right? So shout out to Ja. Shout out to Ja as well. Well, I know I learned a lot. Dude, I want to know by sevens. Do you feel and think that this class, the education that's going to be given by who I call Bree, but Jabrita, is valuable in your further success, not just in life, but in business too? Did you hear some things that you needed to heal, fix, correct, that may be holding you back from where you probably already want to be by the show of sevens? It don't matter where you're at right now. I heard some things that's holding me back to where I want to be, right? Okay, we got a lot of sevens. Do you think this is valuable? Do you think this is like, man, we should have been here at this in our industry? Now, I wish I saw CB. I'm going to unmute you, CB, because I saw you in them chats. So I'm going to unmute you, CB, and I want, your testimony based on this, I can't even say education, this event that happened this evening.
No, yeah, the Queen definitely dropped some she definitely dropped some gems, me on my journey, like it's been a journey of self-evaluation. Why I do the things I do, why I do the things I don't do. You know what I mean? So I definitely believe it begins with your inner self. You know what I mean? Your inner self first, right? You know, I've had a lot of issues with growing up, childhood. As you know, like last March, my old man had passed on. But there was so much I learned about myself that I didn't know. Things I needed to know about myself to even reach out or even create the thought of taking my mind somewhere my eyes could not see myself, right? So but this right here was definitely beautiful because I know probably just like anybody else that I struggle with a lot of things that is inside me. You're right. And so you know, which we keep doing the same thing and we try to figure out why we're not getting the outcome that we want. So I mean, after a while, it's is it's almost like you have to look in the mirror. You have to look in the mirror because after doing the same stuff over and over and over and over again, and then you're kind of just stuck and stop. And you got to think to yourself, what is it haven't I did yet? Well, you haven't healed from the way that you grew up. You haven't healed from what happened to you. You know, I like to say it is, what is your this? You know, when folks have say this happened, and then that's why my life is this, this, this. You know, once we identify our this, I believe that we'll be able to move further and grow into the individuals that God has intended us to become. And so that's this right here is all about the journey that I'm on. Like it really is. Like outside of trading, outside of outside of my family, outside of everything. Like I'm really, really digging into myself and trying to find out why. You know, because I came to a point where I'm sick of my ish. You know, I believe we gotta get sick of yourself, you know? So that's my testimony.
Hey, appreciate you for sharing. I know Jabrita is definitely appreciative of your sharing as well, brother. And we rocking and rolling. We on the way. We are on the way.
Yes,
Okay.
sir. Yes, sir.
We have a hand up, Siobhan.
Well, first I would like to say good evening to everybody. And ma'am, I have been waiting on your class all week. I have been waiting on your class all week. I guess I would say I grew up, from my understanding, a lot of people told me I grew up different. Meaning that my mom and my dad was five of us, and we pretty much say we grew up in a very healthy, strong household with support. I guess I didn't develop my current issues and emotional damage until I start venturing off on my own into my journey into adulthood. And this past a little over a year and a half, like I was born with heart condition, so I've had two major surgeries. I was one with my heart I fixed, and I just had one a couple of weeks ago. So I'm in a position where I'm really starting over in every aspect, from physical, mental, spiritual, like, and this is something that I need the community. It's like, it's just, I'm just appreciative. Let me just tell you that for your class tonight. I'm literally going to be on every class, and I don't know, we may be talking in individual, just you and me at some point, but right now, some things that I'm going through is so helpful, and I'm not gonna cry. I'm feeling myself tearing up some. So I'm just going ahead and get off that. I truly appreciate everything that you brought today, and of course, Akia, Neff, Doc, all the other educators, and everybody else that I have met, and anybody that I have not personally met. But I really appreciate everybody, because sometimes this world is a lot and it can be so hard. So, but yeah, that's all I wanted to say. But thank you again.
Thank
Gratitude.
you. Thank you. Thank you all so much for sharing. Thank you.
Right. Or Siri. Or serious
Yeah,
hell. I'm sorry. Brother
peace,
Ed.
peace.
Peace.
Yeah, sister, I definitely applaud you for what you brought. From my understanding of things, most people in sports, even something simple as golf, they pay a lot of money for what you did tonight because they need that therapy to even win. There's emotions that you were talking about. Basically, you showed that I didn't understand what emotions were. And I have to look at things in a different way now. And I would have never figured that out if I wasn't in this class tonight. So to me, it's definitely something worthy to be a part of this platform. I appreciate you so much. You gave me a big understanding on certain things, especially with even a better understanding of trauma. So it's assisting me and helping me to look at things differently right now. Because we're just in the class right now, you know, these feelings just kind of rolling through me a little bit. But long story short, even the rich need something like this, and they do have someone that they talk to. Sometimes we have to have some kind of education about us, about our emotions, about our feelings, about our mentality and the way that we deal with trauma, or how we deal with just everyday life, how we deal with making money, how we dealt with not having money in the past. There is a trauma, or should I say, there is emotion attached to each of those things. And I'm going to enjoy being a part of your class to figure all that out. And with that, I rest.
Gratitude, gratitude. It's all right, brother. You see, I had to turn off my camera. So it's all right. It's all right, brother. That's for anybody else as well. Okay. Oh, Mama Middleton. Living with the turkeys, but flying with the eagles.
I want to ask her about when you're dealing with grief, when somebody die unexpectedly, like my brother died 2 weeks ago, and my son died unexpectedly 3 years ago. And then I go today and I found out I got this serious health issue. How do you deal with grief and your body and your mind and your emotions all hitting at the same time?
Miss Middleton. So first is understanding grief comes in waves and cycles. I'm more than welcome. I'm more than happy to have a conversation with you to help you, to kind of guide you through what those processes are. It's over 9 steps of grief that you experience, and you don't all experience them at once. And in all actuality, sometimes when one person passes and someone else that's close to you pass, it can open that wound up and you can begin to feel that all over again. Every process of grief has its own cycle, right? It has its own process. It's so much there that I would like to share with you. And if it's okay with Akil, if we can talk offline for me to be able to really help you in this area.
Absolutely.
My condolences to you for your son and your husband. And
My
thank
brother,
you.
my baby brother.
Your brother, I'm sorry, your brother and your husband. But grief, what I want you to know until we talk again, is that grief comes in cycles. And the more we try to control it, the heavier it becomes. So you just have to allow yourself to feel what you feel and go through what you go through, even when you don't understand. You have to be okay with resting with the questions that didn't get answered. You're going to feel guilty. You're going to feel shame. You're going to feel like, oh, maybe I could have did this, or maybe I could have did that, or if I was there, this would have happened. You're going to go through all of these different processes of what shoulda, coulda, and woulda. But I want you to know that where you are and what you're going through and what you're feeling and what you're censored is all a natural part of grief, especially when that wound is reopened. Everything that comes up, it comes all up again. So the best thing to do is to flow with it and not fight against it. When you need to cry, cry. Your grief has no expiration date. Nobody can rush you or tell you how long you should be hurting, how much you should be hurting, when you're going to stop. Nobody should be saying those things to you. And if they are, then you need to not be around them.
Yes, ma'am.
So give yourself permission to feel what you feel and feel it as it comes. You can't rush it. You can't hurry it. You just have to allow yourself to be vulnerable enough with what you feel. And then in that, because there's so much that comes out of grief that sometimes we can't see because we're deep within it. So I'm going to talk to someone about getting information so that I can be able to work with you a little bit as we navigate through this space. Okay.
I appreciate you.
Yeah, I
Yes,
will
ma'am.
connect. I will connect you all.
Yes, yes, sir.
You know we here for you, Mama Middleton. All right. Queen Bay.
Hey, beautiful.
Peace and wellness, everyone. Oh my gosh. Let me just say, first and foremost, Goddess, Sister, Empress, Queen, Jabrita, this class, tonight's session, this event was everything. Like, I was expecting, I don't even know what I was expecting, because I mean, honestly, you know, people know me for a little bit of what you do, the self-love, self-care, health and wellness, all that stuff. But tonight, when I say you tucked me in the bed, I'm in the bed, honey. You tucked me in the bed. No TV is needed tonight. I'm finna go to sleep and reflect on tonight's information. And I'm pretty sure a lot of us are gonna just let this sink in, because it was a lot of information, but this was some good, deep information that for a lot of us, this is really the first time that we are hearing this. And so I just want to give and extend my love and gratitude and support and just touch in agreement with you that, the lives that are going to be changed on this platform. I mean, when I say we are going to be breaking some generational curses within our family, ourselves, and our relationships, like, this is so valuable. And I just want to say that I honor you and I honor your knowledge. And I'm just so grateful for that. I think that was, it was a lot of confirmations that came in on my side. And, I just look forward to the teachings and just, building with you in the future. You said that you wrote a book, so I don't know how that's going to end on the platform, but I feel like I want to get attached to that book as soon as possible. So whenever you get a chance, put the link in the chat or something for us to get that information. But I applaud you, and I honor you and thank you for this call. Ashe.
Thank you, Queen. I didn't know if a kid was coming on, but
Oh yeah, I was just waiting on you to speak.
thank you, Queen.
I'm gonna hear as soon as the call over with, I'm gonna hear more of it. So, it's a beautiful thing. All right, Sister Barry.
First, I want to say good evening to everyone. This call was absolutely amazing. I really don't think there is a word that could totally describe it. And you hit on a lot of key things that I have emotionally been going through, physically been going through, even with dealing with pain for years. And I was sent to a physical therapist, and one of the things she told me was that you're not breathing. And I'm thinking, like, how am I not breathing and I'm alive? Like, what does that mean? She said, because your body's natural reaction has been to guard your pain. So all of your muscles are stiff. And when you breathe, you're taking short, shallow breaths. You're not really breathing. And one of the exercises she gave me when I left was to get quiet, sit still. She said, and to mentally scan my body, and everywhere that I feel pain, tell myself to relax and breathe. And as I began to do the exercises, I really began to start feeling relief, because it was a point where the doctors couldn't even tell me what was going on with me because they didn't know. They were running tests. Over the last 2 years, I've had 5 surgeries, multiple tests, and multiple procedures. And at one point, they began to treat me like I was making it up. And I even had to ask myself, was I really making it up? But how am I having all of these things going on in my body and did not know what it was? But every time I would relax and get quiet and take a deep breath and tell myself to relax and breathe, I could feel the pain pass through my body. So this class was absolutely amazing, and it was everything that I needed. So I thank you.
Y'all don't even understand what y'all doing to me right now. I'm trying to keep it together. I thank you, Miss Berry. And I'm so grateful that God will position that woman to share that with you. Many times we don't understand the magnitude of inflammation that sets in our bodies as a result of protecting itself from the pain that we actually feel. Most people who have digestional issues is a result of unresolved and unprocessed emotions, which is a part of that gut health. This is why we are in so much disease as Black men and women, while our bodies hold and contain weight and water and cancer and I'm trying not to get ahead of myself in this next classes, but a part of, and we're going to do this because it's actually in one of the courses that's already been uploaded. We're going to really get deep into what the ACEs is all about and why when we show up with all of these different elements in our bodies as a result of the trauma that hasn't been healed, that hasn't been processed, the unresolved emotions, the stress. Right, exactly, Queen. The stress sets up inflammation. Inflammation sets up disease in the body, in the joints. It causes us to have callus around our organs. It's real deep, y'all. It's so deep. Thank you, Miss Berry, for sharing it. Thank you all for trusting me and trusting us in this space to deliver this information to you all. It is my prayer, my absolute prayer, that every time we meet, you walk away with a little bit more of your healing, because it's yours for the taking. Thank you again, Miss Berry.
And not, man, that's wow. Wow. The expectations, you went above and beyond. We got 2 more questions. Ms. Middleton, I sent text Jabrita your phone number, so she will be contacting you as well. Solji.
Good evening, everyone. Jabrita, this was like such fire, because I've been in different counseling before. Nefertari and I are pretty tight, and she's heard me talk about counseling I've done in the past and groups I've been in, led, and none of them touched trauma. None of them really got this deep. And I've done a little bit of grief counseling because I have lost both my parents within a year and a half of each other, and I'm still not like, I don't really talk a lot about it. Like, I don't wear it on my sleeve, but it still is a huge issue, so to speak. I don't know if I've really fully dealt with it, so to speak, and all that. So I, like Siobhan, will probably be like, we need to talk one-on-one, because this and I took notes. I have a Word document was open. I have 9 pages of notes from just tonight alone. Because the way my ADD is set up, I need to go back and reflect on all of this. So I just want to thank you, because just you talking about everything, how I understand the stress levels, I understand all of that. But the emotional part was really eye-opening, that I've never experienced in the counseling that I've received over the years. So I really want to thank you for that. And I look forward to what we that are part of Hidden Well Society are going to be privy to and more, because like Akil said, this is huge. This is like, no one else has done this, and this to getting your mind right and to start is just like phenomenal. So thank you. And thank you, Akil.
Thank you, Sojay. I really appreciate you sharing that with me. And I don't know when, but we definitely will. We'll get together. We'll get together.
All right, we have Ms. Middleton.
I couldn't take my hand down. I tried.
Oh, okay, I got you, Ms. Middleton.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. All right. So I'm excited because it's not just going to be coursework on the platform on demand, but you will be hearing from Jabrita once a week live on a platform. And when we take trips, I want to I want everybody to have a clear understanding on these trips that we're going to be taking. It's not just going to be fun and eventful. It's going to be fun and eventful, but we're going to do separate trips as well. We're going to do women trips where women go and y'all get to talk and heal. And then we're going to do the man trips, right? We got brother Jason, and then there's a few others that I can't name right now that's here with us that has the same training in these areas, many different areas. And even me, I need help in certain areas of my life. I don't talk about it, right? And just like y'all don't talk about it. I think I heard Soji, I've been knowing her for years. I probably heard her talk about her parents maybe one time, maybe twice, but it was quick, in and out, boop, and we on to something, talking about something else. So we all have things and issues we are dealing with that need to be resolved so that we can all elevate, but not just elevate for ourselves, but elevate for others. The saying, help self, because self-help can help you help someone else. Just point blank, period. And it's a blessing, Jabrita, that you've been on the journey that you've been on to get to this point, that we even kept in contact for this many, even though we lost contact with 6 years in between. We're gonna have our 25th year high school anniversary, right? And just to get to this point, and then, it wasn't like I didn't have the slightest idea that you was going to be the person that I contacted for this area. I didn't even think about, be all the way honest, I didn't even think about this area. But when I did, you was the first person I thought about because of what you have been doing, and a person that I know personally for years and seen some of the things you went through up to this point. So we're honored to have you here. We're excited about having you here. And we definitely know that you're going to help not change lives, but enhance lives. Because you can get in a car accident, it could change your life. You can break your arm, your leg, it could change your life. But enhance lives in a manner that will help not just those individuals, but all humanity over a span of time, historically, like who you referred to when you first began, the Harriet Tubman, right? So I'm excited. I know everybody excited. Put some love in the chat, put some hearts in the chat, put whatever you want in the chat, showing gratitude, showing love, showing joy, just being grateful for the access that we have, right? Because this is next level, y'all. This is next level. This is next level. It's next level. I'll just leave it like that. It's next level, right? Now, did you have any closing words before we get into these announcements? Because we do have a few more announcements. I'm going to ask Sister Keish, is it okay? And yeah, Sister Keish, is it okay? Because she's the administrator. I got to make sure if it's okay if we can talk about the educators, what we are going to be given, you know, what we spoke about and set up today. I have to make sure. But before Keish come on, I'm going to give you the floor for any closing statements, remarks, whatever you want to do, sister. Floor.
I just want to thank you all. Just thank you. I'm extremely grateful. I have so much gratitude in my heart. I just want to say thank you. I feel so blessed to have been chosen to be a part of this society, to be with you all. I want to share that everything that I teach is not just from a professional standpoint. I have walked through the fire. I have walked through the fire. And as a result of walking through the fire and being very, very comfortable with my pain, I now have the ability to help walk you through as well. So thank you for trusting me in this space. Thank you for all of the interaction in the chat. Thank you for those who came up and shared on tonight. Thank you for taking this healing journey. But more importantly, thank you for choosing yourself and your future and your children and doing the work. You all have an amazing night and an incredible weekend. Until next time.
Let's give it up. 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 Let's go. Oh, let's go. Let's go. Let's go. Can't get too loud. My children sleep. Don't want to have any type of, you know, traumatize them for life. I heard something. Right. All right. All right. Oh man, I'm 10 days, y'all. 10 days. Sister Keish, is it okay if I talk about what we're going to bring for the educators? I mean, the education for the students. Is it okay for me to speak on that? Just a little bit.
Yes, sir. Because Miss Shelton got me in such a calm, loving, she'll just, man, just, whew, thank you, Miss Shelton. All I can say is just thank you. So I said, go ahead, Mr. Bay, go ahead. Share the news.
Okay. So in our industry, we are big upon promotions and celebrations. We're very big on promotions and celebrations, right? But most times in certain areas in our industry that we all have participated in or have even came from, customers or students or people that's just utilizing the service are never recognized. They're never celebrated. Well, ladies and gents, tonight, let me go ahead and announce within our society on the platform, as you're going through your education, there are going to be certain tiers that you hit just doing and utilizing what you pay for. Okay. I know y'all finna get excited. I got you. I ain't forgot about it. I see you keep on posting this, sister. I got you, Sister Bowens. I got you. I ain't forgot about you. I got you. We're gonna talk about that too. Ladies and gents, as you're going through your education, you're going to have different ranks that you're going to hit as you're going through your education. You're going to have different points that you acquire that will give you different rewards as we grow. You're going to have different titles as you hit these ranks, right? But if you don't do, guess what? It's going to be points deducted as well. So it's going to so for a person for a person to say, hey, I'm in it, right? We've all known. Hey, have you been in, y'all know my favorite quote. Y'all been in y'all academy? Everybody say, yeah, I've been in my academy, right? Yeah, I've been in my academy. Now the system is going to let us and everyone know who's been in their academy. Okay, from being a novice, lowest rank, all the way to the highest rank of being an educator. And it's going to keep account of everything. So it's based upon points. It's based upon the hours you put in. It's based upon how many of the courses you went through, how many times you watched. It's broken down in such a way that you can't cheat the system. You can't cheat the system. You can't say, yeah, I've been in my academy, and then I look in and I see negative 200 points. But if I go in and I see, 10,000 points, I know you've been where you are, and putting everyone in a position where they can learn, and those that take it serious, you can get to the highest position of an educator. And then guess what? You go through the process of additional things that you have to do to be an educator, just to make sure you're clear on everything, that you have the right intentions with it. Well, the company is going to hire you and you're going to get paid to help others learn what you have learned, right? And that can be on any of the topics, the educators in which you are seeing this week, like Jabrita, she's going to be the head educator in that particular department. Like, I want everyone to know, this isn't a network. This isn't a network marketing company. This is a multi-billion-dollar Fortune 500 company. I'm telling y'all now, I keep on repeating myself, we're set up for 100 years already. And it's already done. I don't believe, I know. Just imagine being able to come to the home office and visit the home office, a home office tour, and you come into this big building, and on every floor is a different department. Employees working for you to make sure that you have everything that you desire. Who's excited about that? Being able to be recognized, being able to come to events, and through those recognitions, you're going to get, walk away with hardware, crystals, plats, even at the lowest level, you still going to be able to walk across stage and get a certificate. You're going to walk away with something, different badges, as you go through you're going to be able to walk around, put on your badges, you have your pens. This is everything that we spoke about today that we literally sent in today to the programs. We did that today. We was on an hour. How long was were we on the phone? Keish, how long were we on the phone today?
We was on at least over an hour.
Yeah, just making sure everything we hear. Sister Danielle said I was too hard on y'all. She said I was, and not just Sister Danielle, but Doc said, no, don't go. I know you're a Marine. Don't go too hard on them. I'm talking. I was saying, hey, you want the top tier, you got to do 10,000 hours. I'm lying, Danielle. I said 10,000. She said 10,000 now. That's about 16 years if they just do an hour and a half a day. And I said, oh, I'm sorry. I'm like, well, we can't say master. We have to change it to another word. Okay. So everybody's excited about that. Is everybody, put something in the chat? I need to know if y'all excited about that. And remember what I said, the number one student, once we launch to our next trip, which is November, end October, November, the number one student, we have a way to track it now. Number one student, that means the person with the most points, they're going to get their trip paid for. You all already know you're getting your full trip paid for. All you have to do is just show up. So show up, then show up again and enjoy yourself. 100% paid for. It's already in the budget. Sister Danielle, do we have that in the budget so everybody can hear? Do we have that in the budget?
Yes.
Boom, there it is. CFO, she said it's in the budget. There it is. So who's going to be the number one? Because some names came up in our conversation. Some names came up. Some names came up. Who's going to be number one? Who's going to be number one? Because in our prior project, it was somebody that was always number one. And she just gave the thumbs up. Right. Then I saw somebody else that said they in their education 12 o'clock midnight when the system comes out. Right. Here goes a hint for you all too. Just a heads up. The system may be out sooner than 12 o'clock midnight. The system may be up before 12 o'clock midnight. It may be up on the 30th, later that night. All right. All right. I'm not saying for sure. I said may. It may, like the month that we launch. We may. All right. So I ain't gonna hold y'all up. We've been on here quite some time. Sister Makisha Style, our executive administrator. The call's yours. Jabrita, I appreciate you, sister. We finna have some fun. Sister. Welcome to our world. Guess what? We're excited to be in yours. Sister Makisha Styles, the call's yours.
All right, gratitude. So I won't be long, y'all. I won't be long, but I gotta get announcements. All right. So first thing, for those of y'all, I know, especially this was your first call, make sure if you want more of this, because Miss Shelton is on every single week, and look how she got to us today, right? How she got us doing that inner thinking. So imagine just how's she gonna get us? Because we already know we're gonna show us. Everybody's gonna show us how to get to the money, right? But how to be able to keep it, how to find out those blockages, right? We're getting it from Miss Shelton personally every single week. So if you have not even taken advantage of this, exactly, there we go, Queen Bay. We're gonna melt and be reformed every week. So if you have not taken advantage, if you have not locked arms with our society, make sure you go to hiddenwealthsociety.com. Once again, that is hiddenwealthsociety.com. Once you're on the page, scroll down. And you want to lock in right now for our pre-lunch price, which is $149.95. Okay. If you lock in after May 1st, you're going to be at $199.95. And then 28 days later, you're going to be paying $149.95. But if you lock in before May 1st, you're doing $149.95, and your first payment is not to the end of May, and for some people, the 1st of June. Okay. But remember, you're not going to live empty-handed. Even if you can't do this right now, it's okay. We still love you, because you can come right over here, fill in your name, email, phone number, and who referred you. You can get onto our wait list. We can keep you informed of every single thing that's going on. Okay. Now, we know we had Miss Shelton today, but then we got more for you, because we give you something every single week. Next week, we're going to have Mr. Rasan Greer going over leadership, okay? Because all this stuff goes hands in hand with our 4 pillars, all right? So we'll have Mr. Rasan next week at 8 p.m. Eastern time. Then, of course, we know every single Monday and Wednesday, we got Mr. Mark Fair Jr., a.k.a. Goldfinger, on here showing us how to get those pills. And we've collected over 20,000? It was a lot of thousands over the past 3 weeks. So make sure you take advantage of that. And, of course, Queen Boyne's going to drop it in the chat. Pro Trader, all right? Pro Trader, going to drop in the details. So make sure if you have not yet, because if you missed out last Saturday, Mr. Goldfinger, you missed out. But it's going to get better, because he's doing it again on July 28th through the 30th. You can, I'm going to pause right here for 2 seconds. 1, 2. Go and scan that code and purchase your tickets, okay? Go ahead and purchase your tickets. Those that are already in society, Queen Boyne's did post something special in there for us. Right, a special offer. So make sure if you're already in a society, go back there to your community and check it out. All right. And then if you're not already, go ahead and follow our social media sites. We're on Instagram, LinkedIn, YouTube, TikTok, Twitter, and Facebook. And this powerful training that went on tonight with Miss Shelton is going to be posted on our YouTube tonight. Okay. As soon as it uploads, you're going to see me put it right there on the YouTube channel for you all, so you can watch it again and again, share it with your loved ones, because everyone needed what we went over tonight. Right, so that is all that I have for right now, and I'm going to pass it right back to you, Mr. Bay, so you can close us out. We can't hear you if you're talking.
All right. I appreciate you, sister. I see Jabrita's hand up. You can go ahead and put your hand up. I mean, you can speak. I said you can put your hand up. I see your hand is up.
Yes, sir. I just wanted to share that I am only going to be teaching on the Hidden Wealth Society platform exclusively. I will not be teaching any other space or any other place. This is exclusive to Hidden Wealth Society members only.
Ooh, let's go. The commitment. If she's committed to us, can't we be committed to her? You can't make this stuff up, y'all. You can't make this stuff up. You cannot make this stuff up. Gratitude, 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 gratitude. Well, I'm super, super excited. I told you back in high school we're gonna be rich, didn't I? How long? Tell the people how long I've been talking about being rich. Because people don't be believing what I be saying.
25 years, y'all, for real.
Hey, it's go time. I am super, 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 super excited for each and every one of you all. I just want to make sure that I'm not forgetting anything before we get off the line. Next week, I will be doing a presentation before the launch, so you can invite people to the actual presentation, friends, family. I will be doing a presentation for the launch, a full presentation, going over everything we have. So look out for a flyer for that as well. Revving up for 10 days or less. 10 days or less. So look out for that as well. All right. So with that said, y'all have a good rest of the night. If you go out and have fun this weekend, make sure that you're safe. If you don't feel right, just get up and leave. Don't talk to nobody. Just get up and go. Okay. If you do turn up and have a little bit to drink, get libated. I hope that you don't get sloppy drunk, but if it happens to happen, have something, hear my voice in your head right now when that happens. Right? Because you're going to hear a lot of voices if you get super drunk, but make sure you hear this voice. Give your keys to someone that you trust that haven't been drinking, or call a Uber to get you home, come back the next day and get your car. Because we do not want you to be end up hurting someone, hurting yourself. And if you get locked up, you're going to have to sit there for the weekend, because I want you to think about it as you're sobering it up. And then afterwards, we'll go ahead and I'm going to call up Doc, say, Doc, we need a lawyer in this state. Do you know somebody that can help this person? And we'll figure all of that other stuff out. All right. All right. Just be careful, because we want to come back safe. Miss Middleton, once again, Mama Middleton, Jabrita has your number. She's going to be contacting you and helping you through this moment and time that you're going through. And we're here for support and help as well for you. Okay. And with that said, as always, thank you again, Jabrita. And peace, love, and freedom. And if anybody come with that negative thinking, we don't even have to kick them no more, because we wouldn't want people to kick us. Jabrita got me feeling like, hey, I ain't gonna kick you. I ain't gonna kick you. I'm gonna try to reach down and hold you, but you're a bottomless pit, so you don't keep on falling. And all I'm gonna probably is, this is Sparta. But I'm gonna have the reaching hand out there and say, but it's still Hidden Wealth Society. All right. Y'all have a good rest of the weekend.